Her name was Clara Bennett, and she never thought her life would change over something as simple as a tip jar. For 3 years, she worked at a small café tucked away on the corner of 7th and Maple. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm, the kind of place where people came not just for coffee, but for comfort. Every morning, Clara would arrive before the sun came up. She'd tie her apron, turn on the coffee machines, and breathe in that first scent of roasted beans, the smell of new beginnings. She knew every regular by name. There was Mr. Doyle, who came in at 6:45 sharp for his black Americano and a chat about baseball. There was the college girl, Emily, who ordered the same caramel latte every morning before class. And there was the quiet man who always sat by the window, reading poetry, never saying a word. Clara wasn't just a barista. She was the heart of that coffee shop, the warmth behind the counter, the smile that made bad mornings better. She didn't make much money, but she didn't care. She loved the people. She loved the rhythm. To her, every cup of coffee was a small act of kindness, a reminder that, even in a busy world, someone cared enough to make something with love. It was a rainy Tuesday. The shop smelled like cinnamon and espresso. The floor was a little slippery from wet umbrellas. Clara was humming softly while refilling the pastry display when her manager, Tom, came in. "Morning, Tom," she said cheerfully. He didn't respond. His face looked tight, serious. He walked straight into his office and closed the door. She thought maybe he was just stressed. The cafe had been struggling lately. Sales were down, and there were rumors about layoffs. But Clara wasn't worried. She knew she always gave her best. By 8 a.m., the line stretched to the door. Clara smiled, took orders, called out names, and even joked with the regulars. It felt like just another normal day, until the door to Tom's office opened. "Clara," he said quietly, "can I see you for a minute?" She wiped her hands on her apron and followed him inside. Tom sat down behind the desk and took a deep breath. On the desk was a single sheet of paper. "Clara," he said, not meeting her eyes, "there's been a situation." Her heart skipped. "What kind of situation?" He sighed. "Corporate sent me an email this morning. They've reviewed footage from last Thursday. Someone filed a complaint." "About me?" she asked, confused. He nodded slowly. "They said you took money from the tip jar." Clara froze. "That's not true. I moved it, but—" He interrupted. "They have it on video. You reached into the jar." Her eyes filled with tears. "Tom, you know me. I've been here for years. I've never stolen a penny. The jar was falling, a customer bumped it, and I just—" But he looked away. "I'm sorry. Corporate says it's zero tolerance. I have to let you go." She stared at him, speechless. "No warning? No chance to explain?" He shook his head. "It's out of my hands." And just like that, it was over. Clara took off her apron, folded it neatly, and placed it on the desk. Her hands were shaking. As she walked out, the rain outside had stopped, but her world felt heavier than ever. For days, she couldn't leave her apartment. She felt humiliated, angry, broken. Friends told her to fight it, to post online, to expose the unfairness. But Clara didn't want revenge, she wanted peace. She missed the smell of coffee, the customers, the sound of laughter during morning rush hour. Then one morning, she looked at the small jar sitting on her kitchen counter, the same jar she used to collect spare change. On it, she wrote one word: dreams. She realized she didn't need permission to do what she loved. So she sold a few old things, borrowed a little from her sister, and bought a small second-hand coffee cart. She painted it white with soft pastel flowers. On the side, she wrote in big letters, "Second cup coffee made with heart." Her first day, it was just her and the cart on the sidewalk. She was nervous, her hands trembled as she poured her first cup. By noon, she'd sold only 3 coffees. By evening, she considered giving up. But the next day, a familiar face appeared. Mr. Doyle, her old regular. "Clara? You're here," he asked, smiling. "I am," she said softly. "Starting over." He bought a coffee. Then he told his friends. Then they told theirs. Within weeks, there was a line stretching down the block. Local newspapers wrote about the barista who was fired for nothing and built her own dream. People came not just for coffee, but to meet her, the girl who refused to give up. Months later, one rainy afternoon, a man approached her cart. It was Tom, her old manager. He looked older, tired. "I heard about what happened," he said quietly. "Corporate found out the footage was misread. You didn't do anything wrong." Clara just nodded. "I know. They wanted to apologize," he said. "They're offering your job back." "They wanted to apologize," he said. "They're offering your job back." She smiled gently. "Thank you, Tom. But I already have one." He looked around, the flowers, the happy customers, the warmth she created. And for the first time, he smiled too. "I guess you do," he said. A year later, Clara's small cart became a real cafe filled with light, music, and the smell of hope. On the counter, beside the register, stood a tip jar with a small handwritten note. "This jar once cost me my job. Now it reminds me that what's meant for you will always find you." Every day, she poured coffee with gratitude, not bitterness. Because sometimes life takes everything from you, only to make room for something greater. And if you ever walk past a small cafe called Second Cup, and you see a woman with a kind smile and red hair tied in a bun, that's Clara, the girl who lost her job and found her purpose.